Yo, what is up guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review on that list that I mentioned. We've got the Prime Icon Ian Rush review. This one came from a comment which will pop up above my head. We're going to go through the details, his stats, clip summary, all that good stuff. Before we get into all of that, if I could ask you guys to please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when I upload. Comment down below who you'd like me to add to the list in his place. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So guys, this is the team that I used Ian Rush in. I played him at the striker in a 4-2-3-1, leading the line with the two wingers, of course, flying him. I didn't change him from this position. And you know what guys, first impressions of this card, it took me a few games to get used to him. Now guys, with the stats as well, I got 3 quits early in the games as well, so I really didn't get great stats with him either. Just please bear that in mind. But my first impressions on this card is it's okay guys. I wouldn't say he's a great striker, he's a very good finisher, a reasonable finisher and a very usable finisher, but not one of my favourite players to use at all. Without further ado, let's just get straight into it though. Ian Rush, 5'11", high medium work rates, right footed, 3-star swing moves and 4-star weak foot. So that's pretty decent. The skillers, for you skillers out there, he's not ideally suited, he's only got 3-star swing moves, but the 4-star weak foot is pretty handy to have, especially with his finishing. 7 games played, 8 goals scored, no assists. Like I said guys, I got 3 rage quits in that, so I'm going to count that as 4 games, 8 goals, which isn't a bad return. It's pretty decent. He did have a hat-trick in 1 game, so that kind of saved him a little bit in terms of games as well. Overall guys, I found this card quite difficult to use purely because of the pace and dribbling, but we'll get more into that as we get through the review. In terms of chemistry style, I put a hunter on him, I put an engine on him, I also tried a hawk on him too. I found that the engine worked the best on this card. I finished up on the hunter, of course. The engine worked the best because of the way it boosted the stats that he is weakest at. Speaking of which guys, the key pros of this card: 94 finishing, 93 attack positioning, 88 shot power, 90 long shots. All of the shooting stats on this card are phenomenal. It was really nice to have a card that was so good at finishing in and around the box. Unfortunately guys, the cons of this card hold him back so much. 84 acceleration, really did struggle in that department, and then combine that with the 80 agility, 79 balance, he really did feel very stiff and clunky on the ball, and that I really struggled to use him in that regard as well. Once you're in the box with this card, very dangerous, because you can create space and then create an opportunity and score it very easily. Getting him to the box, especially with being the ball carrier, is very difficult. You can't rely on him to really do much in terms of creation, and so you need the other players in behind him to do that job for you. Guys, one of the cons I will say of this card is the strength. Now, although the strength says 82 there, his build is very lean, so when he goes up against the bigger defenders, he really did struggle. Even against the bigger fullbacks, he struggled a lot. Really didn't do much in terms of the strength department. Even weaker fullbacks and centre backs as well, he was really struggling against those because of his body type. I don't feel like that strength is truly reflective of how good that is. I felt it was a lot poorer, maybe in the high 60s. Guys, getting into the player traits, he's got finesse shot, power header trait, outside the foot shot, and the chip shot. So actually, in terms of being a striker, this card has every shooting one you'd want, which is just lovely to have. Unfortunately, again, because of the way the other parts of this card hold him up, it's difficult to get him to the goal to get all these chances. However, though, I did still get the 8 goals, which proves, guys, that he is a good finisher. It's just a case of getting him the opportunities. Finally, guys, this is the icon profile. I will leave that for you guys to read in your own time. And having covered all that, without further ado, we're going to get into some of the clips that I got with him. So guys, getting into some of Prime Icon Ian Rush's moments, and what you guys are going to see here is where I operated best with him. Generally that was in and around the box. You guys will see some outside of the box play as well, just to show that his general running and attack positioning is pretty decent. But guys, where I did my best work was this card is in and around the box. Although his shooting is very good guys in all departments, what I would say is that it's heavily weighted towards when you're in the box. I do not think his long shots are that good, and I think overall when you're in the box it's far easier to score with him. I do really think he plays more as a fox in the box kind of player rather than an all-around striker and a danger man in and around the box. Guys, overall though, I did think his shooting was of course the biggest plus of this card. I mean, it's really nice to have a card that can strike the ball powerfully and well on both feet, reasonably well as well. I mean, there you guys are seeing some of the misses here, but once you see some of the goals, you'll see that this striker did play reasonably well for me. However guys, the other side to discuss is his passing and dribbling. His passing is okay guys, it's serviceable. I don't think it's anything special, but his dribbling in particular is a real struggle. Now I can deal with a lack of pace, which this card does have, certainly in the acceleration. I think that's lower than what the card suggests, but what is really bad about this card guys is his dribbling. I really struggled to move around well with this card. I really did feel like he was very stuck, and so for the most part guys, I found it difficult to get chances created with him. I often had to leave the creating to the rest of my team and just use him as the final piece to finish it. Now, You guys may be thinking that's what your striker's for, but for me, I like my striker to be able to do it all, whether that's the build-up play, whether that's the finishing, whatever it is, I like my striker to be able to do the lot. So guys, for me, this striker does not play as well as I would want him to. He's not as complete as I would like him to be. Not too many clips for you guys as well, really only the goals and a couple of misses on the shots, because that was really all that was good about this review. But you guys are going to see lovely finishes here, and in the final one here, you're going to see a header which he scored for me into the back of the net. So guys, getting into this final Ian Rush summary, 330k on the PlayStation 365 and the Xbox 429 on the PC. Now guys, the key stats of course is 94 finishing and 92 composure. Those are the big ones for me, especially in and around that box. He's a fantastic finisher and is really usable in that position. Guys, in terms of recommended chemistry style, I would say that the best one for him is something like that boosts his pace and his dribbling for me. I don't really feel like his shooting needs that much work, given that when you do boost his shooting, it doesn't really affect the long shots. I do think the long shots are quite poor. So actually guys, the one I'd be recommending here is an engine, or certainly an artist if you want to leave the pace as is, just so he was able to move a little better with the ball, because without that agility and or certainly agility or balance upgrade, he will really struggle to dribble with this card. It's really stuck in the mud, so you guys do need to boost that part of him. Overall though guys, I do think this is a very well-rounded striker. I just don't think he's quite good enough, and that's obviously indicative in his price, but I think this card can be quite good given the right chemistry style and the right team around him. I wouldn't rely on him too much for build-up play either. I would recommend that you guys use this card purely as a finisher type of card. In terms of similar players guys, now in terms of similar players, I would go right down to where we're looking at the Alan Shearers, Ian Wrights, those kind of players there. I do not think that this card is much different from those, although he does have a reasonable amount of pace. I don't think it's as much as say Gary Lineker or Ian Wright. Maybe similar in fact to the prime Miroslav Klose. I do not think that he is worth more than that, and certainly given his price guys, which will lead into our final recommendation, I don't think this is a card I would recommend you guys purchase. I think for 330k there's a lot more that you guys can get. I would not suggest buying this card on that basis. You know, it's one of them where it's like you could get this card and it would be play probably quite well for you and score a few goals, but there's also cards that you could pick up that would be half the price and do much better. So unless you have some sort of affinity for a Welsh team or a Liverpool past and present, I would not be rushing to pick up this card, no pun intended. This was not one for me, and I didn't really enjoy using him, even though he did give me a decent return. Hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did, please do smash that like button, and until next time, I will see you all in a bit.